Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah wa ba'an. المجلس التاسع, the ninth majlis, آداب تلاوة القرآن. The author speaks about the etiquettes of reciting the Quran. After praising Allah, sallallahu salam upon the Messenger of Allah, وبعد هذا طرف من آداب تلاوة القرآن الكريم. This is a glimpse at some of the etiquettes of reciting the Noble Quran. لأن القرآن الكريم كلام الله سبحانه وتعالى, because the Noble Quran, it is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فيجب تعظيمه ويجب احترامه. So it is obligatory to have veneration for it and to respect it. وتهيؤ لقراءته على أحسن حال, and to prepare to recite it in the best state or condition. فمن آداب التلاوة أنه إن كان يقرأ من المصحف فإنه يجب عليه أن يتوضأ. From the etiquettes of reciting the Quran is that if the person is reciting from the mushaf, then he must have wudu. He must perform wudu before reciting from the mushaf. ولا يجوز له أن يمس المصحف على غير طهارة. And it's not permissible for him to handle the mushaf without being in a state of purification. لقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يمس القرآن إلا طاهر. Due to the statement of the Prophet عليه الصلاة that none should touch the Quran except one who is pure. when كان يقرأ على ظهر قلب, if one is reciting from his memory, فإنه يستحب له أن يكون على وضوء. It is merely recommended for him in this case to be in wudu. ويجوز أن يقرأ وهو على غير وضوء, and it's permissible for him to recite from memory without being in a state of wudu. أما من عليه حدث أكبر كالجنابة والحيض, as for the one who has a major impurity upon him, like being in a state of janaba or a woman upon her menstrual cycle, فلا يجوز له أن يقرأ القرآن مطلقا. It is not permissible for them to recite the Quran in an unrestricted way. نعم لا من المصحف ولا عن ظهر قلب, neither from the mushaf nor from memory, حتى يتطهر من الحدث الأكبر, until one becomes pure from that major impurity. We want to draw attention to an issue here. Then this is an issue which the ulama have spoken regarding the woman mathalan who's in a state of major impurity from her menstrual cycle and the likes of this. Now, then there are certain conditions and certain times wherein she may actually be able to recite the Quran both from the mushaf and from her memory. From the examples of this, the Sheikh Saleh Fawzani actually mentions in other works of his, is that if, for example, the woman, she is a Quran teacher or a Quran student, she's a Quran teacher or Quran student, and she has to recite in proportion to her lesson, and she happens to be on her menstrual cycle, then she can recite from memory, with there being no issue in that, or she can recite from the mushaf if there's a barrier between her hands and the mushaf, such as her wearing gloves and the likes of this. But what she should do is lessen her impurity by performing wudu. She will lessen her impurity by performing wudu, and then she can recite in proportion to that need that she has, such as, like I said, she's a Quran teacher or Quran student. Or another example, if a woman, she's on her cycle and she is in the process of memorizing something and she fears she may forget what she had memorized. She fears she may forget what she had memorized and she's in need of reciting it just to retain it. Then she can do so even though she may be in a state of major impurity. Allah Ta'ala truly knows best. Now, so he mentions حتى يتطهر من الحدث الأكبر لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يقرأ القرآن إلا إذا كان جنوبا. And this is due to the fact that the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, he used to recite the Quran in all states unless he was in a state of sexual impurity. فإنه لا يقرأ القرآن حتى يغتسل. In this case, he would not recite the Quran until he had performed ghusl first. ومن آداب التلاوة أن يستعيذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم في بداية التلاوة. From the etiquettes as well is that one seeks refuge from the accursed shaitan at the beginning of his recitation. لقوله تعالى, due to his statement subhanahu wa ta'ala, فإذا قرأت القرآن فاستعذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. When you recite the Quran, then seek refuge with Allah from the accursed shaitan. Shaykh Al-Albani, he actually mentions that the isti'adha is to be done at the beginning of every rak'ah. right? At the beginning of every rak'ah, because at every rak'ah you're going to be doing what? Reciting the Quran, right? So this is Shaykh al-Albani's view. Others differ from him. Shaykh al-Taymiyyah differs from him in this issue. But it is a point of benefit that Shaykh al-Albani holds that isti'adha is to be said at the beginning of every rak'ah. Now, وذلك لأن الشيطان يحضر عند القارئ ليلبس عليه القراءة. This is because Shaitan is present there when the person is reciting the Quran in order to confuse him in his recitation. ويشوش عليه, and to cause disturbance to him. ويصرفه عن التدبر, and to divert him away from contemplation upon the Quran. وإذا استعاذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم عاذه الله منه وصرفه عنه. So when he seeks refuge with Allah from the curse of the Shaitan, Allah gives him refuge, and he will take the Shaitan away from him. وَاسْتَفَادَ مِنْ تِلَاوَتِهِ, and he will then at that point be able to benefit from his recitation. وَإِلَّا فَإِنَّهُ يُوَسْوِسُ لَهُ وَيُشَاغِلُهُ عَنْ الْقِرَاءَةِ. Otherwise, then the Shaitan will whisper to him, and he will seek to distract him from his qira'ah. وهذه فائدة الاستعاذة في أول قراءة طرد الشيطان. So this is the benefit of making an isti'adha at the beginning of one's recitation, and that is the repelling of shaitan. ومن آداب التلاوة أنه إذا بدأ من أول سورة أن يقول بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Likewise, from its etiquette is that when one begins the recitation at the beginning of a surah, then you're going to say بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لأن البسملة نزلت في بداية السور إلا سورة التوبة. Because the basmalah, and the basmalah specifically is the phrase Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is called al-basmalah when it comes to like this. Now you have what's called a tasmiyah, right? The mentioning of Allah's name, right? And that's simply saying Bismillah. There are certain times in which you say a tasmiyah, certain times in which you say al-basmalah. You say tasmiyah, for example, before you eat, right? Before you eat, you don't say the basmalah, you say a tasmiyah, right? You say Bismillah. You say Bismillah. If you're walking and you stumble, for example, you trip, you say Bismillah. And other times besides this. Al-Basmalah is to be said when you recite the Quran, when you begin a letter, when you begin some speech that is some religious type of speech and the likes of this, then you're going to say Al-Basmalah. Naam, so you're going to say Al-Basmalah. So he says, because the Basmalah, it was revealed at the beginning of every chapter in the Quran with the exception of Surah At-Tawbah. أما بقية الصور فإنه يستحب أن يبدأ البسملة في أولها. As for the rest of the chapters, then it is recommended that one say al-basmalah at the beginning of its recitation. ومن آداب التلاوة ترتيل التلاوة. From the adab as well is that one make a slow melodic type of recitation. وترتيل معناه, the meaning of at-tartil is at-ta'anni, that you take your time in your recitation. Now you take your time in your recitation with عدم السرعة, and not speeding. You're not speeding. وإعطاء الحروف حقها من التجويد حسب استطاعته, and that you give all of the letters their right in terms of tajweed in proportion to one's ability and one's know-how. المهم أن يترسل في قراءة فيقرأ آية آية. So what is important is that one takes his time with a connected recitation. He's reciting one verse by one verse. He's reciting verse by verse. نعم. ويقف على رؤوس الآيات, and he stops at the beginnings or at the ends of each verse. ولا يهض القراءة حظا, and he's not to rush the recitation. He's not to rush the recitation. ويحضرم فيها حضرمة وسرعة, and he's not to speed his recitation and recite quickly. هذا يخل بالقراءة, and this is something which it causes lapses in your recitation. It causes mistakes and errors or lapses in one's recitation when you rush and you stumble over your words like this. وفي الأثر النهي عن هذا القرآن and حذ القرآن حذ الشعر, and in the other narration it comes prohibiting reciting the Quran in a speedy manner like this, like the man of poetry. ونثره نثر الدقل يعني رديء التمر, and that one do a recitation that is poor, right? Like the poorness of like low quality dates. ومن آداب التلاوة أن يحسن صوته بالقرآن. Likewise, from the etiquettes of it is that you beautify your voice when you're reciting the Quran to the best of your ability. For now, فَيَقْرَأ بِصَوْتٍ حَسَنٍ حَسَبْ اسْتِطَاعَتِهِ. So one recites in a nice voice in accordance with one's ability. لأن تحسين التلاوة وتحسين الصوت بالقرآن يرغب في الاستمتاع والاستماع ويلذذ القارئ والسامع. And this is because beautifying one's voice with one's recitation, it encourages listening to it, it makes people want to listen to it, and around you when you're reciting. فَإِذَا كَانَ حَوْلَهُ نَائِمٌ. So if someone is near to you and they're sleeping, for example, or قَارِئٌ آخَر, there's another reader that is reciting beside you, and is reciting or he is praying, فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَجْهَرْ جَهْرًا يُشَوِّشْ عَلَى مَنْ حَوْلَهُ. Then you are not to recite audibly with the type of audible recitation that disturbs those who are near you, ويؤذيه, and harms the people who are around you. بَلْ يَجْهَرُ بِحَسَبْ مَا يَسْمَعْ نَفْسَهُ. Rather, you're going to recite audibly just enough for you to hear yourself, وَلَا يُشَوِّشْ عَلَى الْآخَرِينَ, and not to disturb others. ومن هذا نعرف أن هؤلاء الذين يطلقون أصوات مكبرات الصوت من المساجد. Due to this, we know that those who they place speakers and they have speakers outside of the masajid, and they have loud sounds blasting from the speakers. يشوشون على الناس في بيوتهم, disturbing the people inside of their houses. وفي أسواقهم, in the marketplaces. وفي مساجدهم, in the other neighboring masajid. And هذا خلاف المشروع. This is something which contradicts that which has been legislated. وهم يأثمون على ذلك, and they are sinning for doing so. ولا يؤجرون, and not going to be rewarded. لأن هذا أذى, because this is harmful. أما إذا كان الإنسان ليس عنده أحد يتأذى بجهره. As for if you're reciting and there's nobody around you that can be possibly harmed by your audible recitation, فإنه يجهر الجهر الذي لا يصل إلى حد الإسراف. Then he can recite audibly with an audible recitation that does not reach the level of doing too much or being or exaggeration. ليس عندنا. He says, وإنما يكون جهرا يسمع نفسه, but it is audible enough that he hears himself. ويسمع من يستمع إليه, and whoever is listening to him, they can hear him as well. ممن حوله, from those who are near him. وكذلك في صلاة الليل, similarly in the night prayer. إذا كان في مكان خال ليس عنده النوام. If he's in a secluded place and there are not those who are sleeping near him, ولا أحد, and no one else around him, يجهر, he is to recite audibly. أما إذا كان عنده من يشوش عليه بجهره ويتأذى به. As for if there are those near to him who's going to be disturbed by his recitation or harmed by it, فإنه يسر, he is to recite silently to himself. ويراعي من حوله, and be mindful of those who are around him. وبعض الناس لا يراعي من حوله ويشوش على الناس. Some of the people don't care who's near them. They don't pay attention to this, and they disturb people. ويشوش على المصلين, they disturb others who are praying. يشوش على التالين, he disturbs others who are reciting the Quran, who are in the ranks next to him. We know we may be in the ranks and we're praying, and somebody's next to you sounding like a coffee pot, right? They're doing it, right? And you can hear them. You can hear every morsel of spit that's going around his mouth, and you're disturbing the other people with your recitation. This is something which is considered to be harmful. And so he harms those who are in the ranks next to him. يشوش على من حوله, those who are around him. هذا منهي عنه, this is something which is prohibited. فقد خرج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على أصحابه وهم يصلون من الليل ويجهرون بالقراءة. So the Prophet ﷺ, he came out one night amongst his companions while some of them were praying, and some of them were being audible with their recitation. So he said, كلكم يناجي ربه. He said, all of ربه, all of you are consulting privately your Lord. فلا يجهر بعضكم على بعض. So none of you should recite audibly over others. ونهى صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الجهر الذي يؤذي من حوله. So he prohibited that audible recitation that harms those who are nearby. ومن آداب التلاوة بل من الواجب فيها. And likewise from the adab of recitation, rather what is obligatory in terms of recitation, أن يتجنب اللحن الذي يخل بالقراءة, that he avoid grammatical errors in his recitation that will alter and change the meaning. min nasb al-marfu', from making that which is marfu' to be mansub, meaning you put a fatha where a dhamma should go, or raf al-mansub, or put a dhamma where a fatha should go, or jar al-marfu', or putting a kasra where a dhamma should go, right? And other than this, right? Whenever you alter these, we don't pay attention to the endings of your nouns, to the endings of the words, right? This is in terms of Arabic grammar. You end up changing the meaning. You put a fatha where dhamma should go, or vice versa, you'll change the meaning. Prime example, right? Allah Ta'ala, you mentioned وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ Musa takliman. This has one meaning. Some of the people of bid'ah, they recite the same verse, but intentionally change the dhamma to a fatha. This will change the ma'na. It will change the meaning. Why? Because it will push their agenda and push their bid'ah. They say, Kalam Allah Musa takliman. The first has one meaning, the second has another meaning. The words are exactly the same. The words did not change order. You change the vowel and you change the meaning of the word, of the verse, right? The first verse, or the first recitation means that Allah spoke to Musa with actual speech. And this supports the Aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that Allah Ta'ala speaks with actual speech, right? The people of bid'ah who try to negate Allah's attributes, right, and negate speech from Allah Ta'ala, they recite the same verse, but they recite it with kalam Allah Musa taklim, and thus making Musa the fa'il, right? Making Musa the doer of the speaking here, and making Allah the object of the verb that got spoken to. And thus it changes the meaning. Okay, you negate speech from Allah Ta'ala. The verse don't mean that. The verse means that Musa spoke to Allah with actual speech, right? And so this is important. It's important to pay attention to the endings of the words as you're reciting the Quran, lest you change the meaning, right? You can change the meaning in some alterations of meanings. It negates sifat from Allah Azza wa Jal. Some changing of meanings are actually disbelief in reality, right? You putting not having a shadda where shadda should go. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. We spoke about this the other night to some of the brothers. Iyaka, right, is another word for son. It's iyaka, it's shadda, tajdeed, iya, right? Iyaka na'budu. You alone we worship. Wa iyaka nasta'in. And you alone we ask for help. You say iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. It's the son we worship and the son we ask for help. It's kufr. It's disbelief. Right? So it's important to pay attention to the likes of these issues. And so this is from the etiquette, rather the Shaykh says from what is wajib in the recitation of the Quran, that you avoid these types of alhan, this lahan, these grammatical mistakes and errors when you're reciting the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. ويتجنب هذا ويقرأ الآيات حسب الشكل الموضوع على الحروف. So one must avoid this and recite the verses in proportion to the tashkil and the vowelization that is upon the letters. For yurafa al-marfu', so you make the marfu', meaning you put dhamma where dhamma should go, and you put fatha where fatha should go, you put kasra where kasra should go, and like this. ولا يخالط ذلك, and you not mix that up. إلا إذا كان ليس عنده معرفة بالنحو, unless it be the case that a person, he does not have ma'rifah of Arabic grammar, does not have real cognizance of Arabic grammar. فهو يتبع الشكل الموجود, and he is to follow the tashkil that is in his mushaf, right? What he's pointing to here is that the Arab, right, the Arab who they are skilled in Arabic grammar, they don't need the vowels, right? They know what goes there. They know what goes there, right? Even the nuqat, the dots that we have on the sheen and on the tad and the noon and like this, even these weren't there at one point in time, right? And the Arab were able to read it because they know what goes there. They know what goes there. It's their language. They've mastered it. They know what goes there, right? These things were placed there later, as the Sheikh he points to here, right? For those who were coming into Islam that were not native Arabs, and they were learning the Arabic language. They were not as skilled as the native Arabs, right? So they were put there for them so that they're able to read and observe the proper recitation in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, based upon the vowelization and the diacritical marks that were there. He says, أَمَّا الَّذِينَ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمَعْرِفَةِ النَّحْوِ, as for those who Allah blessed them to know nahu, to know grammar, فَهَؤُلَاء لَا يَحْتَاجُونَ إِلَى الشَّكْلِ, they are not in need of the vowels. هَؤُلَاء يَعْدِلُونَ الْقِرَاءَ عَلَى حَسَبِ قَوَاعِدِ النَّحْوِ, so they are able to make a recitation based upon the principles of Arabic language. وإنما جعل هذا الشكل للذين لا يحسنون العربية. These vowelizations and diacritical marks and the like, they were placed there for those who were not skilled in the Arabic language. فعلى كل حال, at any rate, عليه أن يقرأ حسب الوجه الصحيح من الرفع والنصب والجر والجزم وغير ذلك. So at any rate, he says, it is incumbent upon the person to recite the Quran in the correct manner, placing Dhamma where Dhamma should go, Fatha where Fatha should go, Kasra where Kasra should go, and likewise observing Jazm. And if something deserves a sukoon, you put the sukoon there, and the likes of that. ومن أعظم آداب التلاوة تدبر القرآن. From the greatest of adab of tilawah is to make tadabbur, to contemplate over what you're reading, and to be affected by its meaning. والاتعاذ بمواعظه, and to take admonition from the admonition that is inside of it. والتفكر فيه, and to think about what you're reading. ولا يكون المقصود هو ختم القرآن والمرور على الآيات والسور بسرعة. He said it is not the objective that you merely complete the Quran or pass over the ayat quickly and the chapters quickly. ومن غير أن ينتفع به, without benefiting from that. ومن غير أن يستفيد, without taking benefit. ومن غير أن يتأثر بالقرآن, and without being affected by what you're reading. هذه قراءة لا فائدة منها. This type of recitation has no benefit inside of it. فعليه أن يحاول أن يتفهم القرآن حسب استطاعته. So it is a must that one strive to understand and comprehend the Quran in proportion to his or her ability. وإذا صلحت نيته فإن الله جل وعلا يفتح له باب الفهم. So when one makes his intention pure, then Allah Ta'ala will open for him the door of understanding. ويفتح له باب الانتفاع بالقرآن. He will open for him the door of benefiting from the Quran. قال تعالى أفلا يتدبرون القرآن. Do they not then ponder and reflect over the Quran? أم على قلوب أفقالها, or do their hearts have locks upon them? والقرآن فيه أشياء واضحة يعرفها العامي والمتعلم. The Quran has certain things inside of it that are crystal clear. Yani the Ami, the one who's a layman, as well as the student of knowledge, can understand and comprehend. For example, dhikr al-nar, mention of the hellfire, wa dhikr al-jannah, mention of Jannah, wa dhikr al-adab, the punishment, wa na'im, and the bliss, wa tahrim al-riba, the prohibition of usury, wa tahrim al-zina, the prohibition of fornication and adultery, wa tahrim al-kadhab, the prohibition of lying, wa tahrim al-ghish, the prohibition of cheating and deceiving others, wa tahrim al-mayta, the prohibition of eating roadkill or dead animals that you find alongside the road. وكل هذا في القرآن. All of that is in the Quran. وكل يعرفه, and every individual knows it. When he reads it, he's able to understand and comprehend it. ففيه أشياء واضحة. So it has things inside of it that are crystal clear. كوجوب الصلاة, for example, like the obligation of prayer. ووجوب الزكاة, and of zakat. ووجوب الصيام, and of fasting. ووجوب الحج, and hajj. وفيه أشياء واضحة يعرف وجوبها وتحريمها kullu qari'in. So it has things that are clear like this, and everyone who reads it knows either its obligation or its prohibition. لأن القرآن بلسان عربي, because the Quran is in the Arabic language. وكل العرب يعرفون معاني القرآن. Every Arab knows the meanings of the Quran. When he says Arab here, as Imam Shafi alayhi rahmatullah, he mentioned whoever knows and understands Arabic is an Arab. Right? Whoever knows and understands Arabic is an Arab. Naam. So everyone who knows the Arabic language, yani they're able to know these things when they come across them and when they read them. Now, he says that, now, بحسب أفهامهم واستطاعتهم, and this is in proportion to their varying levels of understanding and ability. فلا أحد ممن ينطق بالعربية عاميا أو متعلما إلا وهو يفهم من القرآن شيئا كثيرا. So there's no one who speaks the Arabic language, from an ami, from a commoner, or a student of knowledge, except that he understands a large portion of the Quran when he reads it. وَأَمَّا دَقَائِقُ الْمَسَائِل, as for those intricate, detailed matters, وَدَقَائِقُ الْأَحْكَامِ, and intricate details of rulings, فَهَذِهِ مِنَ اخْتِصَاصِ الْعُلَمَاءِ, this is from the specialty of the scholars. For Qur'anu kullun yastafidu minhu. So the Quran is such that everyone can benefit from it. Al-ami wal-muta'allim wal-alim. Yani the commenter, the student of knowledge, and the scholar himself. Kullun yastafidu minhu ala hasab istita'atihi. Everyone can benefit from it in proportion to his ability. فعلى مسلم أن يتدبر القرآن ويتأمل فيه. So it is upon the Muslim to ponder upon the Quran and to reflect upon it and to think about what he's reading in order that he can benefit from it in proportion to his ability. And Allah is the grantor of success, and He is the guide to the straight path. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barik ala nabina Muhammad.